Listen, membership is a two-way process. It's a process. It's a transaction. Applying for membership is a transaction. Hello, Past Commodore Joe Tringali from the Academy of Yachting coming to you once again, talking about your right to select members. Now, let's understand something. We are not talking about illegal discrimination. We're not talking about discrimination based on gender or race or religion or any of that kind of stuff. We are talking about your constitutional right to select members who do not fall into one of those protected classes that we talked about last week. And just to remind you, the protected classes are age, gender, national origin, race, religion, and sexual orientation. We do not fool around with those classes. But I told you that there was another class of people, citizens of this country, and we all know them. And they are not protected by the federal Constitution. They're not protected by any Constitution. And I said that it was perfectly legitimate for you to not accept one of these people and to cite that class as a reason for their non-acceptance. And I told you that today I would tell you the name of that class. Here it is. Horses' asses. Horses' asses are not protected under the United States Constitution. Now, who are these people? You remember those people that you invited in good conscience and good faith to come to the Commodore's ball? You remember how the guy sat at the table and got drunk on several bottles of wine and started telling dirty jokes loud enough to interrupt the Commodore's speech? You remember how his wife sent back 3 dinners? One was too hot, one was too cold, one was too salty. Those people are horses' asses. You don't want those people in your club. Why? Isn't it obvious? Now, can you exclude them on that basis? And let's stop using, vulgar language. My producer gets all upset about that. Let's just say incompatibility. Is that a reason? And I told you, yes, it is. And I told you, you're going to have to build the record so that you're not, when you're not sued, when you are sued and you go to court, you can then prove that you went through the legitimate process. And that legitimate process is going to involve your membership committee and your membership process. Let's start at the beginning. How do we cut this stuff off at the knees before we even get to the part that we just discussed? How about your application? Do you keep all your applications in a box next to the bar so that every Tom, Dick, and Harry that walks in can pick one up? Everything's computerized now. Do you go online? Oh, our application's online. Listen, membership is a two-way process. It's a process. It's a transaction. Applying for membership is a transaction. When you are in a transaction, never allow the other guy to have the first step. If you're buying a house, you set the price. If you're buying a car, same thing. Whoever takes the first step generally wins that interaction. So, you have to do something to protect the application process. How do you do that? You keep the applications in the hands of the membership committee. Years ago, my wife and I wanted to join a rather exclusive yacht club up north, and we asked a mutual friend to get us a membership application. He was a member of the club, it should not be a problem. And it took weeks. I had to keep reminding him at Power Squadron events, where's the application? Oh, I'll get it. And we wondered if there was something wrong with his memory or something. Well, no, nothing wrong with his memory. After we joined and got active in the club, we found out that applications were hard to come by. A member who wanted to give an application to another person had to go to a member of the membership committee, who then said, sure, here's an application. Who are you going to give it to? How well do you know these people? You think they'd fit in around here? Do we know them? Why? Because it prevented the process from starting so that there would not be an embarrassment later. Okay? Now, what's the second guarantee? The second fail-safe? Sponsors. Your club should require at least 2 sponsors, maybe 3. And the sponsors need to really take an interest. A sponsor can't just be somebody who says, sure, I'll sign. Okay, yeah, Joe, are these friends of yours? The sponsor's got to be somebody who actually introduces these people into your club. Why? Because then the sponsor knows, hey, if these people do eat peas with a knife and chew peanuts with their mouths open and act like yahoos, people are going to come and ask me why I sponsored them in the first place. So give the sponsor some amount of responsibility. Third, you have to require publication of the name and photograph of the prospective member. An application, first of all, should have in it a photograph. Now this takes a while and people get all upset because they say, oh, it slows everything down so much, people lose interest and blah, 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 blah. I know it slows things down. It's supposed to slow things down. That application should be published to all of the members of the club, and they should be invited to make comments. The easiest way to do that is in your club newsletter. You publish the application and the picture, and you say, look, if anybody has any comments about these people, if you know anything, good or bad, contact us. We'd like to know. Lest you think this is just a lot of hooey, let me tell you about something that happened at one of the clubs that I belong to, and as you know, I belong to far too many. We received an application, had all the proper qualifications about boating and navigation and safe boating and all that stuff, and with a photograph, and we published it. And at the time, the board was going through all the same hullabaloo about, oh, it takes too long, and blah blah, it's going to take 60 days, okay. We published it. Shortly after we published it, we received an email from one of our members who wasn't particularly active. And the email contained a photograph of the front page of a newspaper from a city up north. And the photograph on that front page was this applicant standing in a courtroom, wearing handcuffs. I got to tell you, I've been a lawyer for over 50 years. When somebody is standing in a courtroom wearing handcuffs, that's not a good thing, okay? Anyway, the article went on to explain how this fellow had gotten convicted of some sort of business scam and was actually sentenced to some time behind bars. And he moved out of that state and moved into our state and pretty much started doing the same thing. Needless to say, his application was rejected. Now, when I told you this story, I pointed out that this email came from a member who was a good member of the club, but he wasn't, one of the most active people. Why did I say that? Because some of you say, okay, publication consists of posting on the bulletin board. Well, I've got news for you. Not everybody is at the club every Friday night. all of your members don't see that bulletin board on a regular basis. Don't rely on the bulletin board as a method of publication. So what have we learned? Yes, you can select members constitutionally according to the law. You have to be selective. They have to go through a selection process. Follow the steps in that process and you'll be okay. Regardless of whether you're a public accommodation, private club, or whatever, follow the steps of selectivity, congeniality, and your club will be fine. Speaking of being fine, next week we're going to talk about directors and officers' liability and how you can be personally sued. And leaving you with that thought in mind, this is Joe Tringali, past Commodore, Academy of Yachting, saying goodbye and signing off.